Western media recently reported that China is preparing for war because it has been importing and stockpiling massive amounts of oil this year, an average of 11 million barrels per day, more than Saudi Arabia's daily output. About one-tenth of that oil is reported being stored. So the claim is that China must be preparing for war or for recovering the rebellious province of Taiwan. What a statement. The truth is China is always preparing for war, because if it doesn't prepare, it will eventually be invaded. After the Communist Party of China took power in 1949, the US led 17 countries to invade China from Korea in 1950, forcing China to fight back. How could China ever afford not to get prepared? But China has always been defensive. The question is China now preparing to start a war? Western media claim that based on import, production, and refining data, China's total oil reserves may have reached 1.3 billion barrels, enough for 6 months of use. So why is China increasing its oil reserves even further? Actually, the reasons are simple. Only three main ones. First, to handle global instability. Russia-Ukraine, Israel-Palestine, India-Pakistan, unrest in Venezuela and Sudan, and so on. The world is unstable everywhere. How could China not stockpile oil anyway? The US government has been preparing military action against Venezuela, the biggest oil reserve in the world. When so many major exporters face turmoil, wouldn't it be foolish for China not to stock up? In fact, China started building its national oil reserve program back in 2004, when its economy began to grow rapidly after more than 20 years of planning and construction. The necessary infrastructure is now complete. Increasing reserves is simply part of a long-term plan. Nothing unusual about it, unless they don't understand what is long-term plan. Second, to buy at low prices. On one hand, Russia, hit by Western sanctions, has had to lower oil prices to attract buyers. China does not recognize unilateral Western sanctions that have no basis in international law. Besides, the Russian-Ukraine war was provoked by NATO's eastward expansion under US leadership, of course, a war China has always opposed. Russian oil became so cheap that even the US was secretly buying it. So why shouldn't China? In 2022, Russia even surpassed Saudi Arabia to become China's largest oil supplier. On the other hand, OPEC began increasing production. It couldn't just sit by and let Russia's discounted oil take its market share, so OPEC raised output and lowered prices. When oil goes on sale, why not buy more? It's a basic necessity, no different from buying discounted goods in a store. Third, because of the new energy law. This year, China implemented its energy law, which requires both the government and enterprises to ensure national energy security, including maintaining safety buffers and reserves. Of course, China must always be ready to defend itself against a possible US and Japanese aggression and to achieve national reunification with Taiwan. Oil is essential for both. But China is not only stockpiling oil, it's also storing gold and grain while reducing its US state holdings. So why make a big deal about oil reserves? So, of course, China is always preparing for potential wars, but its goal never changes. China will never fire the first shot, yet it will never allow an opponent the chance to fire a second one. We have to understand that peace cannot be begged for on one's knees. It must be defended through strength and determination. Follow me on Eastern Perspective to see the world.